This is the Conservative Czar, November 30th, 2015. And I want to continue on the themes that I've been developing about the problem in the Middle East and the law of unintended consequences, where we start messing with these things and it unravels in ways that we never expected, usually worse than before. And I just kind of want to lay the ground for what happened in the Middle East prior to 9/11, prior to us getting involved, and then take a look at the Middle East today after we sent 150,000 troops to Iraq, 50,000 troops to Afghanistan, and we fought these extended, Afghanistan being the longest war we've ever fought in the history of the United States. So I just want to talk, before all this happened, we had Gaddafi in Libya, who was behaving himself. You know, all it took to mellow down Gaddafi was a couple of air raids on his palace. And all of a sudden, that became stable. We had Mubarak in Egypt, an ally of the United States, a person who had dealt face to face and on reasonable terms with the Israelis. He was keeping the Muslim Brotherhood down, and Egypt was at peace. Even to the extent, I hate to say this, and by the way, I was wrong about Saddam Hussein. I was wrong about Iraq when we got into this thing. But all I'm trying to do is illustrate that we had and we had strong men in place. Assad in Syria, peace. Remember what Assad in Syria did. They stepped into the Lebanese civil war, which was a brutal civil war. Assad in Syria stopped it. Say, hey guys, stop. We'll protect the rights of everybody. You accept our direction and leadership. And they did a bang up job in Lebanon, stopping the civil war and controlling things for a considerable length of time. We had Saddam Hussein in Iraq, brutal. The one guy that you really weren't comfortable with, but he kept a lid on all of these disparate elements. He was brutal, but it wasn't. There was not a worldwide conflagration of terror when Saddam Hussein had Iraq. We had even the Ayatollahs in Iran. Yes, there was terror coming out of it, but it was somewhat controlled terror. We could that they were the rogue state here. We could deal with that. After all, Obama signs a ridiculous peace treaty with them. But the point I'm trying to get at is, prior to two of the longest wars in the history of the United States, the region was relatively stable. We go in with all good intentions. As I've said over and over again, I supported the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. The caveat I have on Iraq is by 2003, when Bremer comes in and makes the changes, and when Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice make the goal of America to create a nation out of Iraq, that was the end of it. I said it at the time. I said it over and over and over again, and I finally admitted that I was wrong all along. That the Pauls were right. That it was a bad idea, and we should not have gone in at all. And history is clear that is the case. This idea that we put 150,000 troops in there, for 10 years, and we pull them out, and it goes to hell. That's just proof that this is not the right idea. The law of unintended consequences are huge in this region. It has a life of its own, and we got to be careful. And that's really what I want to say here. Don't listen to McCain, Graham, Rubio, Fiorina. Just get rid of them. They are oversimplistic in how to deal with this region. Now, I'm in favor of attacking ISIS. I'm in favor of eliminating ISIS. But I just want us to put in perspective that we start meddling here. I don't care how bad ISIS is, what's next could be worse. It's all we got to consider here. And so when we consider what we are doing in the region, understand that I know it's beyond our imagination. There could be something worse than ISIS, but you better expand your imagination. This is the Conservative Czar. See you next time.